When I was younger, around 14 or 15 years old, my family used to camp at a state park. Every night my friend and I would walk through the woods. We called this the ritual this particular night, and we decided to walk further into the woods than usual. We had flashlights, and we liked to try and navigate through the woods with them turned off. We were about half a mile from the nearest campsite when we heard soft whispering behind us. Obviously, we hid the flashlights and spun around. Didn't see anything. So we kept walking, and we hear it again. This time we stop and look around a bit before we decided to head back to our campsite. Then we see what's whispering. It's a lady crawling on the ground, whispering just random words. She was wearing dark clothes and was covered in dirt. When she sees that we notice her, she stands up and declares that she is looking for her campsite. We ended up walking her back to the campground and tried helping her find her group. Turns out she was just super drunk or high and got lost trying to find a bathroom. Her friends didn't even notice she was missing, and if we didn't go that far into the woods, she would have been lost all night. It was pretty creepy. I was 5 years old. Myself and my dad were walking, throwing stones into the lake. It was like every feel-good vacation movie you've ever seen. Then we saw this guy slumped against a tree. At first we didn't think much of it, but it was getting cold and dark, and my dad didn't want the guy to fall asleep and wake up unable to find his way back to his camp. So my dad and I started walking towards him, but the closer we got, the worse it smelt. Not like rotting flesh, but like shit, literally like shit. My dad told me to stay back, and he walked over to the guy and asked him if he was okay. No response. He asked again, no response. And my dad then tapped the guy's shoulder, and the body made a sort of crunching noise as it fell slightly to the side. When this happened, the guy's hat fell off. Because of the way the guy had been slanted, it was like all the blood had gone out of half of the guy's face and pooled in the other side. One eye was completely red, possibly from a burst blood vessel. My dad rushed over to me and took me back to the camp ranger's fort place. He had me stay with some nice lady. Well, he and another ranger and a paramedic who was on site went to the body. It wasn't a horrifying, oh my god, I got attacked by a bear type scenario, but it was pretty scary being in a pretty secluded area far away from home and finding a dead body. I was about 11, my sister was 13. We slept in the living room of the little caravan we used to stay in. There wasn't a lot to do, the campsite didn't have any amenities. I'd pass the time playing with my sister, taking walks, or playing the SNES. This was 98, so Castlevania and Donkey Kong Country weren't nostalgic yet, they were just lame. I couldn't wait to get home and back to the PC so I could get my Team Hospital on. But mostly I'd read. I had a collection of books about ghosts, UFOs, cryptids and such. I picked them up at library sales or in charity shops. My favourites were the unexplained true stories, like the Dover Demon or the Gulf Breeze incident. There was a quarry on the other side of the site. Sometimes at night I'd pretend the two red lights were the eyes of the Mothman, who'd swoop down to terrorise my family. What I'm getting at here was I was a kid and I had an active imagination, but I never believed anything spooky would actually happen to me. If something out of the ordinary happens, it's just your mind playing tricks on you, right? I woke up one morning around 6:20. It was grey outside, the sun had just come up, but fog and cloudy skies ensured it wasn't too bright. I felt uneasy because I'd usually sleep till 9 at least. It was silent. My sister wasn't even snoring as she normally did. And then I heard it. It sounded like a horse galloping. It was just outside the window. It was unsettling, to say the least. Had a horse escaped from a nearby field? Surely not. I'd never seen any horses around here, and what's more, it didn't sound heavy enough to be one. Whatever it was making circles around the caravan. I'd hear it fade a little as it looped around the other side, where my parents slept, and then get louder, almost next to my head. It had the irregular rhythm of a gallop, but I never heard 4 legs. It was almost like a person was skipping very, very quickly, but no person could be heavy enough to make that kind of noise on soft ground. It It was fading, off into the distance. Whatever it was seemed to have ran off. I breathed a little easier. What a crazy situation. Maybe I hadn't fully woken up yet and was having a dream hangover. And then it came back. It was getting louder and more insistent. I decided to take my chances. "Rose, are you awake?" I ventured. "Yeah," she said, voice quivering. "You can hear that, right?" "Yeah, what is it?" "I don't know. I'm afraid to look outside, though." "Why?" "I'm afraid it might be the devil," she moaned in fear. There was a thump from the other end of the caravan, like whatever was outside had grazed it. I pulled my blanket tighter around me. After about a minute it faded again. I told myself if it came back I'd look outside and the devil be damned. It didn't come back. My parents woke up around 8, made us breakfast, and the fog cleared. We asked them if they'd heard anything strange earlier. They hadn't. There were no scrapes on the caravan that would suggest something heavy bumping against it. Apart from my sister, there was no evidence that anything had ever happened, except for one rough footprint outside the front door, in the shape of a hoof. To this day, I regret not looking outside to see what it was. But when I wake up in the middle of the night and everything seems so strange, I understand why I didn't.